So I did not send my usual kind of before or day of reminder. So I'm not entirely sure that our guest speaker is going to make it, but we'll see. Maybe he will come and surprise me, and that in which case, we were going to have Shwahu from HHS, and I think something may have come up. He hasn't responded to my confirmation. So, but I think we can have a conversation about what's going on at the federal level anyways, and there appears to be a lot. And I have a few things I can share, and we can just have a discussion and kind of treat this meeting as more of a roundtable update between all of us that are here, which I always welcome and find super valuable. So yeah, thanks for coming. It's meeting 14. We've been doing this for well over a year now. And as usual, we're going to exchange knowledge on priority tribal adaptation and resilience data needs. We spend a lot of our time just talking about how to access data, how tribes can access the best data that's available, and where we could try to support tools and programs and services that exist, and maybe figure out ways to develop more services, so that tribes can have better access to information that they need to protect their health and their communities from the impacts of climate change. So why don't everybody go ahead and put your introduction, just introduce yourself over chat. Everybody just give us your name, organization, and location. And then I like to spend a little bit of time picking on new members that I haven't heard from before, just to say a little out loud hello, tell us who you are and what you're working on, so we get to know you a little bit. And then we'll do our member announcements, talk about federal activities. And then if anybody has anything in particular you want to ask the group about, we can carve out time to do that. Okay, so Brian, I am thinking this may be your first meeting. Can you introduce yourself? Brian McCullough.
Yes. Hello, I'm Brian McCullough, and I'm with the California Energy Commission, and I am a assistant tribal liaison in our energy assessments division, and working on sort of electricity system analysis, but also distributed energy resources and lots of things where there's activity going on. And I look forward to helping connect those activities to the tribes, and hopefully helping everyone cross some of the boundaries that maybe shouldn't be there.
Well, great. So you must work with Katrina. So it's nice to meet you. I'm sure we'll get to know each other on some of the tribal work here in California. All right. Well, let's go ahead and do our roundtable updates. And I want to open it up to any of you who want to share any updates. I'm really curious if anybody ended up going to the NTIC recently, last week. Love to hear an update on that, and anything else that you feel like your fellow folks here would be interested in knowing about, helping them with their work.
I did. Hi, Angie. It's been a while. I apologize. I've been disengaged for a while.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, but I'm happy to be here. I did not go to NTIC. I was supposed to be on vacation, but I did send staff. So, but I heard amazing things, and I heard back from Nikki Cooley that it was a really well-attended event. They had a lot of energy and lots of networking, and people just had a really good time. And that the networking was really, really powerful. So that was really good to hear. I'll just mention a couple of things that we have going on that are very relevant here. At the end of November, I'm going to put it in the chat, ATNI is hosting the Tribal Leaders National Climate Change Summit in Spokane, Washington. It'll be a 2.5-day event that is really intended for folks to come together, share information that will allow tribal leaders to take that information and use it to influence policymakers. So We anticipate having approximately 250 folks there, and are really looking forward to it. Should be pretty
That's great.
exciting.
Do you want to drop a link in the chat?
I think I did I not?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Great.
And then a little bit further out in March of 2023, we're going to be hosting, in collaboration with Navajo Technical University, we're going to be hosting our tribal climate camp for tribal citizens, tribal delegations to come together. It's going to be actually in Ghost Ranch, New Mexico. So going to be pretty exciting there. We'll also be partnering with the Southwest and South Central Climate Adaptation Science Centers.
Is that something you're recruiting for right now? You're doing outreach and trying to get registrations?
Not yet.
Okay.
Give us a month and we'll be opening that up. We're just trying to get, I'm trying to get all the contracts in place so that we know that there's nothing that's going to derail us.
Got it.
And then again, a little further out, May of 2023, we're going to host a Tribal Energy Summit. And so we're looking forward to that. That's going to be, again, somewhere in Washington. We've just recently done a lot of fundraising for it. So, but we now have the funds and super excited to know that that's going to be moving forward.
That's great. Actually, we should be tracking that. Just a lot of parallel activities happening here in California too.
Yep.
Right, Brian? Oh, we lost it. Lori, and she's back. All right. Well, thanks, Chaz. Anyone else want to give some updates? What are you working on? What could we all learn from? Lori was telling me they're getting close on their indicators report. Lori, are you there? I don't know if you want to share anymore. Okay. In our world, we are actually in the Tribal Climate Health Project, we are trying to get a new version of our Accessing Tribal Resilience Data guidebook out. It'll be the second round, and it corresponds to our updated easy tool, which is how we try to navigate all the tribes, tribes throughout the country to the right data sets. So that is in the process of being finalized, and it includes also a newly updated protocol, which is mainly for California, but it's how California tribes can work with their tribal epidemiology center to grab the health level data that's available through the text. And so we've developed a standard template, and now we've updated it because we're getting more data. The second round of the project, more data from CTEC, and so we're just diving in more on what's available. And all of this has been guided by some of you who attended a special meeting where we talked more about data gaps. Just want to say thank you for that. It's being used, and actually I was really pleased. CDPH, you guys were around for Osamu's presentation last month. He is using that protocol in trying to support tribes around the state, and we're aware that tribes are using it just in California. So we're going to have a webinar coming up too. I'll let you guys know when that comes. It's going to be mainly California based, but all tribes could potentially benefit from some of these resources as well. And we're waiting to hear. We applied for more BIA dollars, and I think like the rest of the country, just waiting to hear about awards. Anyone else want to share? Patricia, I see you.
Hi everyone. I think this is my second meeting, but still very new to the group. So I can share a little background on my work, and then an update on where we're at and some of the things that we're working on right now. So I'm working with the state of California on California's 5th climate change assessment. And this year, for the first time, we have a separate tribal research program. And so that's what I'm heading up, is sort of leading this tribal research program. There's a few components to it. I think the overarching goal is To support tribally led research in a process that's typically been Western science dominated. So we're really excited for that. One of the first things we're doing in order to hope that it is tribally led is to set up a tribal advisory committee. I have a lot of nominees coming in for that right now. So we're really in the process of kind of getting that up and running. And then there's going to be a host of other efforts kind of through the process through the next 4 years of this whole project, tribal and indigenous communities synthesis report, and considering traditional knowledges and tribal expertise throughout the fifth assessment, like I said, and very much has been a Western dominated process. And so we're looking at different ways of knowing and how to respectfully consider other ways of knowing in a way that's obviously culturally appropriate. So really exciting stuff, and it's stuff that's really new for us, both at OPR and I think in general, a lot of the efforts across the state of California that we're starting to take on. So like I said, very initial stages, we've received a lot of nominees for the tribal advisory group. We're really excited for that. And then it'll probably take us a few months to get that group up and running. And separate from that, and if you have any recommendations for this, it'd be maybe California specific, but the overall fifth assessment, sort of the broader program, we've done a few months now, 4 months or so of engagement and outreach, trying to identify research topic priorities for the fifth assessment, where we're actually going to put our RFPs and our funds. So we've done, on the tribal side, listening sessions, consultations. We've met at different conferences, and then with the general public and researchers, we've done one-on-ones, we've done workshops, we've done surveys. And so we've compiled all those suggestions and then research gaps. And we're trying to narrow it down now. So we kind of took like a whole broad approach, try to get as much as we can, and then we're narrowing it down so we can identify research priorities for the fifth assessment. We are hosting roundtables over, I think, the last week of October, last week of September, first week of October. So they're coming pretty quick. They are open to the public, but they will be panel led. And we're hoping to have at the very least one tribal expert on each panel. So there's 6 different roundtables. They'll be on specific topics: health and human well-being, biodiversity, things like that. We're separating them. So Angie, I could share that announcement with you if you want to share it with everyone else.
Yeah,
I encourage everyone to attend, but then also if you have recommendations for panelists, I'm totally open to that as well.
I've got some questions for Patricia, but I wonder if anybody else wants to ask a question before me.
Are you guys able to pay your working group, your advisory
The
group?
tribal advisory group, yeah. So we have really excited. I know I took some pushing, and it's probably not what it should be. I think we always have places, to go, but hopefully it's a starting point. So we're able to pay for, of course, any like travel and expenses incurred while traveling, but then we're also able to pay for time spent at meetings and time reviewing documents. So each tribal advisory member at this point will go into a contract with OPR to make that happen. But I know it's been something that the state has been working on. So Lori, if you want to chat about logistics, I can let you know how I wiggled my way into that. Yeah, it's really exciting.
I'm just really happy to see OPR, this is such a big priority for OPR this year. Excited that you're here, Patricia, and that we get to work with you. And you've been working, my firm, Josh, I know you've been receiving batches of the draft of the California Tribal Gap Analysis, right? I think we just got you the climate change section. So I hope that's useful, along with an appendix where we try to break things down by region. So I'm super curious to see if that's helpful to you. I also, you're making me think we have I think it's in an appendix, where we detail it, but we asked tribes, these 76 tribes that participated, about research topics. And I think that's probably the right time to hand that over to you so you can
Yes.
add it to your notes. Okay.
This is the right time. So I don't know if it'll get into the discussion. I will do my best to review it and get it into the discussion for these roundtables, but I can guarantee that it will get into the overall like deliberations of research topics. I did look at your table of contents and I was like, oh man, if we could review that before our internal deadlines, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Let me talk to Josh about getting that out to you. Kind of
Cool.
prompting that first. Okay. And then the data. So, obviously this group talks a lot about data gaps, and Tribal Climate Health Project has been trying to identify the data gaps for tribes in California. And I'd like to get those on the record somehow, sort of formally in your process. So it sounds like these roundtables might be the right place to do it and really elevate the need for those things. And like Ben's been involved. We're trying to tackle a couple of them. If we get awarded in the next BIA, we're trying to tackle water access. So data sets sort of lacking in access and just thoroughness in terms of how tribes can actually see the blind spots coming for water availability threats and wildfire related illness. So those are the two areas that it rose to such a level. We hear it all the time from tribes that we really wanted to try to tackle. But yeah, I think I'll show up to those roundtables.
Yes, please show up to the roundtables. I will forward you the email right now and then you can share it with the rest of the group. And then also anything that you would like to submit, you can also email that to me. And I'm part of the team working in this massive spreadsheet. So I can make sure anything that has been identified as a priority gets in there.
Awesome.
Additionally, because that's essentially going to create a research priority list that will then go into our core report RFP. That's for the overall assessment. And then I also wanted to clarify and make sure I communicate that there's the tribal research program as well. And so we'll be really honing in and focusing on tribal research priorities that are very specific to tribes within that program. We're kind of waiting for the tribal advisory group to get up and running before we really dive into that.
Okay.
So that'll be another, I think, touch point for us to work together.
Wonderful. Yeah. And maybe, at some point, we'd probably like to invite you to come in and talk. We have touched a lot on the traditional knowledge piece here and hearing a lot from tribes on the ground about, your data, it's not right, or your data isn't grounded in the truth that we know. It's not taking into account the knowledge, and your concept of historical is inaccurate. And we want, your scenarios aren't looking at historical data the right way. Here all the time. And so then I want to get to the point where I'm trying to fix it, right? How do we fix this? How do we act? Where is the accessible traditional ecological knowledge? Then you get to the point where now you're dealing with data sovereignty. And so that's the real tricky part where I think we'd all like now, only in the last couple of years, we all want to be able to integrate traditional ecological knowledge, but doing it in a way that doesn't release sensitive information and actually damage the tribe in some way is really tough. So I would love to hear how you guys are working on that. You probably are going to be leading the country in figuring out how a state can do that well.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, and as I think it's really important to get the tribal advisory group on, but we've already heard so much in our listening sessions, and I think that there's some really great ideas being formed. I think a lot of people are having these discussions, and so one thing that I absolutely recognize is that we all kind of need to come together and move the effort forward together and not think that we're creating recreating the real wheel everywhere we go. I think tribes already have an idea of what this might look like. So yeah, I see our role really as trying to come to the table and creating space to figure that out.
Because I don't see like, in my mind, like how you operationalize this, is there like a repository of this information, but that seems dangerous.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, so how do we collect, even when I work specifically with one tribe on an adaptation plan, there's things, even as their consultant, I cannot access, like they can't even share with me. So how can the state use it, right? Yeah, I'm not sure how we fix it, but I'm glad the tribes have ideas. I'd love to hear them.
I mean, just in general, and I think that there's a lot more to this. One suggestion during a listening session that got a lot of support after it was suggested was, is there a certain level of information that we can all agree on can be shared, right?
Yeah.
Is there that like level? And we've made it very clear that we are not encouraging sharing of sensitive information. The distrust, I'm gonna be careful with my words. We recognize that distrust is real and it's there for a reason, and we are subject to PRA. So we're not encouraging sharing of sensitive information, but is there that level? Is there something? I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of conversations to be had. But yeah, we'll definitely share that with this group, and maybe we can have broader conversations too as we move forward.
Yeah.
I think that would be great. I mean, it's tricky. It's really tricky. And I know that, like, for stuff we did, I just wiped out the data because we are subject to PRA. So if it's not here, nobody can access it. But
if you
not
receive it,
every
you almost
agency
have
is
to.
willing to do that. And it's tricky.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to share processes that I use too. Like I'm working specifically with one tribe who we want to understand the impacts to their entire ancestral lands on their cultural resources, but they don't want to be specific about what they are or where they are.
Yeah.
So instead, it's like this back end reverse process where I'm sharing, here's the maps of this specific hazards that we know are coming your way. The climate exposure is coming your way into your entire ancestral lands. And then a table where it's basically like, all right, here's the hazards, here's types of cultural resources, really high level. And all you need to tell me is high, medium, or low in terms of the level of vulnerability or risk. So at least we can address it without having to expose it. I don't know, but yeah, I'm with you in trying to figure out the right levels.
That's really interesting. And I should say, Angie, I know that impacts to tribal cultural resources from climate change events is something that's already on our priority list.
Yeah.
So
I'll send you my table just so that you have it, because I'm just making it up as I go, but I'd love to hear what others are doing.
isn't that what we're all doing?
Well, and doing it so, because we hear from the tribes, you guys all keep coming and asking us the same questions.
Right.
Why can't you talk to each other? Well, we can't talk to each other and respect data sovereignty. So if we could find that minimum level that you're talking about, this can be shared and some way to protect it, that would be great. Because I don't think we're all trustworthy.
No. There's just so many ways it could go bad for the tribe.
There is. Okay. And I think we're going to take the approach of potentially moving slower than what we would like to see, just to make sure that it's done in a good way. So it might not be this huge, big thing that's released, but like making sure that we take the time just to approach it in a good way, because like you said, there's so many ways it could go wrong.
Yeah. Okay, well, that was super awesome. Let's make that a topic for the future, just that whole piece, and really dive into it and figure out who else should be involved. We have people in our network that are data sovereignty experts, Indigenous science experts. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, who else wants to share?
Can I ask a quick question for Patricia real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just looking and wanted to double check that I have the right document. So the 5th assessment is kind of in the earliest stages right now, is that correct? And then over the coming 3-4 years is really when a lot of okay, it's not like coming out next month or next year or something like that.
No, we're in the very, very, like I just started in March.
Okay, cool.
So we're in the very, very initial stages. Now moving forward, California is going to be doing a climate change assessment every 5 years. We got a little bit of a late start now. So 2026 is when we're sort of, we all dry up and turn into pumpkins. And then hopefully there'll be another round starting in 2026 for the 6th assessment.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just shared the link that I found for in case anyone else wants to see. But yeah, I've been using the 4th assessment, the data from it a ton for everything from climate change projections for places like Ventura County, and then writing research papers using it. And it's super helpful. And I think I have a lot of suggestions going forward for how that data is accessible and how much of it's accessible, because it's just super duper helpful to have it out there to be able to use and access and know that it's gone through the vetting process. And there's a lot of other really cool things about it. So yeah, I'd be excited to help share what I found as being really, really good, and also some suggestions for making it better as we go forward.
That would be awesome. I'm going to put my email in the chat. If you want to reach out to me, we can set up a meeting with the broader 5th assessment team. And they're like really into some of the data
Plus,
decisions right now.
Ben's one of the nicest people you'll ever work with.
What's that?
Ben is one of the nicest people you'll ever work with. He's on our very short list of, oh, it's Ben, quick.
All right.
That's very kind of you, Lori. Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And then, yeah, I guess just a couple updates on my end from kind of the research side. We've been continuing to publish papers on a variety of different things. We just published one, and I think I'll put the link here, that is of particular recent relevance because of our heat wave. So there is a new paper out on recommendations for increasing the reach and effectiveness of heat risk education and warning messaging. And that was work done with a couple of social scientists and public health people in San Diego County as a result of a bunch of focus groups, and I think has some nice applications to basically any given audience in California, whether it's tribal audiences to every other person. I think improving the specificity of how we target our messaging and connect with trusted leaders in communities is a really important way to share information and get it to the people who may not otherwise have access to it. And then there's another paper that is accepted and will be coming out probably this fall. That's a little bit more maybe depressing, on projections of declining snowpack throughout not just the Western North America, but both Western North America and South America as well. And so we've kind of leveraged some novel data sets to figure out the timing and magnitude of warming that is going to result in persistent, what we call low to no snow levels in these mountain environments. And that's going to be published in Nature Climate Change. So we're pretty excited about that. And I think there's some good applications, as I've talked with Angie a bit about trying to work with some of these climate and snow projections for the specific tribal areas that may not include just the reservation lands, but kind of the ancestral lands, and trying to apply that to see how that more broadly affects everyone there. So I'll for sure share that when that comes out. But I think that's mostly it for now. So thank you.
Thanks, Ben. I want to read those papers. Did you put them in the chat? Is that right?
Yeah, I put a link to the heat risk related paper, and then the other one, as soon as it comes, it's in the editing phase with the journal right now, but as soon as that comes out, we'll release the balloons and let everyone know about when's the snow going to go away. How do we plan for it?
Okay.
Yeah, we're, I mean, of course, we keep saying our report's coming out. I no longer believe it. But one thing that's not quite related, but in case you run into people that might need such a thing, we had an intern from Harvard working with us, and he developed a tribal survey to use if you're doing any kind of risk assessment or exposure assessment for tribes that incorporate tribal exposures such as sweat lodges,
Oh,
foraged foods, other things like that. And it can be done either on an individual or on by council could say, we estimate that this much is used, so that you could use it with risk assessments. One of the things I've really not been thrilled about is that our risk assessments all just include defaults, not actual tribal exposures that we know. We don't think we know are higher. If anybody wants that, it's available. We created it for a specific tribe, but it can be used by any tribe, and it can be customized, and it's based off of the work that Barb Harper did. So that's there.
I love that. Yeah. Do you have that handy now, Lori?
Yeah, I can email you a copy if you want.
Yeah. Patricia says, me too. Well, great. Anyone else want to share? Okay, I think we did good. Let's talk about some federal stuff. I will let you guys know too. I heard back from the Public Health Institute folks that have the Healthy Places Index, and they're really excited to come back and talk to us again. I wonder if they have some updates. So we'll probably make some room for that. Like I said, I was going to have Shabahu Sahu, and I think I'm saying that wrong, but he is from, I thought I had this big fish on the line, from HHS, with the new Office of Climate Change and Health Equity. And he's been so lovely coming to these meetings, but man, he must be busy. And I think they are all on detail. So who even knows like who gets pulled in when? I don't know. But I'm going to talk about what they're doing a little bit, but I have a few things on the federal front I want to share, and then I would love to hear what you're hearing. Obviously, there's a lot of movement. Obviously, there's the Inflation Reduction Act. I don't think there's a humongous amount specifically in here for climate and health, but there is a focus on environmental justice programs. So we're going to see new federal environmental justice programs. I'm sure those are going to be inclusive of tribes. I don't see I was trying to dig. I haven't digged far enough yet to see like, is HHS and CDC going to get funded? Is NOAA getting funded? Is there a data component? I don't know. But there is also going to be more money for tribal resilience. So I wonder if that's going to be like an additional boost for the tribal resilience program at the BIA. Keeps getting these big boosts from the federal, Biden's budget for the last couple of years, the infrastructure bill, and now this. So it's good times, better times for tribes in terms of preparing, and health is obviously a big part of that. And then, I don't know if you'll need it, but I can give you the link to this fact sheet about how the Inflation Reduction Act advances environmental justice. We're starting to try to give you some hints about the various, what I always want is like, just give me the funding pathways. Just tell me where the money is going and how much and when. That always takes so much digging.
Angie, can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Do you know if there's one person that is a good contact for this, or is that the person you contacted?
Yeah. Well, these kinds of things come out of the White House.
Yeah.
I found the Senate Democrats has a fact sheet that's like, it's a little more detailed on what we can expect to see in terms of climate provisions coming out of the IRA. I can forward that along too. And then, there's a growing number of people actually working in federal sustainability offices and CEQ, which is the Council of Environmental Quality, which does a lot of the federal climate change stuff. But I don't know I wish I knew like the single person.
Okay. I was hoping to have someone speak at our event next week at our 18I climate change committee meeting. But and then I'm also being contracted to share information about IRA with tribes, and so I just would talk to somebody about it.
Well, there's a new person at CEQ, a new director, and I can't remember her name. And then we've also had David Hayes, who's a special policy assistant for Biden on climate change. I don't know. He was good.
Cool. Thank you.
Right, so in lieu of having an actual speaker, I'm just going to show you guys this video of what this office is supposed to do. It's short. Oh, I'm going to turn the volume up. Hang on.
The office is to protect different populations experiencing.
I can't hear. Can anybody else? Is it, this is a me problem or?
Well, then that's not useful at all. I'll just forward you guys. I'll send this in the chat. It's just a couple of minutes. It's basically just telling you their mission and some of their priorities, which aren't going to be surprising to you. They have a focus on disadvantaged communities. So let me throw this in. Shouldn't say anything specifically about tribes necessarily. Okay, so there's that. And then there's the climate and health outlook, which I just want to recommend that folks sign up for, and kind of actually want to show us how. Okay. Let me get my notes here on it. I wanted to actually show you a few things. Okay. It's hiding. Okay. It's gone awry. Okay, well. Let's stop sharing for just a second. So I can try to bring up the right screen. Ready? Aha. All right, I'm sharing again. Okay, so you can get to it here. So if you go to the HHS website, you can sign up for the Climate and Health Outlook and their latest edition. Maybe you've already done it. Is this very detailed monthly digest of some really interesting information. So it's an effort to inform health professionals and the public on how health may be affected in the coming months. So it's this kind of short-term view by climate events and provide resources to take proactive action. So this one, they were focused a lot on wildfire. So they have a wildfire potential outlook, and they're pointing to some of the federal resources available for data. I just think it's kind of nice. I mean, I look at it when I receive it. So all you have to do is just put your email address in, and then you too can have the outlook. So yeah, maybe some things you didn't know, some additional resources on wildfire smoke, it looks like here. Okay. And then last thing I want to show you, and I am very excited about this one. I am just here. There you go. I'll show you this for a sec. This is the fact sheet from the Biden administration talking about a new portal. Maybe anybody else heard about this? It's a new climate portal to help communities navigate climate change impacts. It's called the Climate Mapping for Resilience and Adaptation. So this now becomes, I think, sort of the single one-stop shop for exposure data only at the federal level. So this was them pulling together. It's an outgrowth of the National Climate Task Force initiative to provide more accessible climate information and decision tools, which is like right up our mission, right? And it looks like NOAA is involved, National Integrated Heat Health Information System. Anyways, let me show you what this tool looks like. And you can go to here. Let me go back to the, let's see. This is the home page. It's got all sorts of different things. Well, this is the vulnerability assessment tool. There's also more of like a real-time tool. So it allows you to look specifically at local vulnerability. So if I go California, the fascinating thing is, look, I can even click for tribal land. Oh my God, federal government, you did it. I'm so proud. I was like, this is totally because of our working group's advice. But look, if I click on it, it actually has the boundary written in on their map. And I think the data I'm getting is specific to that boundary, which is so cool. Obviously, only federally recognized lands, the federal government, but they look at it. Even it's like, did you look at the easy tool? These are the 5 primary exposures, the way we talk about them too. So extreme heat, drought, wildfire, flooding.
Will you click Santa Ynez just because I'm kind of curious? The Santa Ynez tribal land.
Are you talking about up in
Santa
up here?
Ynez, Shumash, yeah, up
Yeah.
Ventura
Out
County.
here? Sure.
Yeah, it's up in like Buellton.
Yeah, that's where Josh used to work. Oh wait, yeah, you know what? And it's a little clunky. But this happens to me a lot. So let's see here. I'm gonna put in Santa Ynez Shumash and see what happens. Oh,
I saw Santa Ynez reservation.
there it is. Oh, look, it went right to the tribal land. Cool.
So it doesn't include all their tribal land.
Is there
So
like feed land kind of?
They have
yeah.
fee land in addition to that. That actually, I think, is as Banner is being rolled into federal trust. The
Okay.
Camp 4 lands.
I would imagine there's gonna be all sorts of boundary disagreements, but
yeah, this raises my suggestion from before about having that there's some kind of federal boundary working group. And I know that somebody from WEHA's on it, Laura August is on it. I know that Shasta wanted to get on it. She was going to buy a flak jacket and then volunteer.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm just curious. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see how tribes react to it. I wonder how much tribal input they got. I'm gonna guess not much. But yeah, you can go. It's kind of nice the way they set this up. Early century, mid-century. You can pick how far out you want your projections to go. You can pick your scenarios. You can look at a chart or a table. They pick kind of the highest level indicators that they have, which I think are good for extreme heat, and then get like a little less good as you go, like wildfire. There's not even anything specific here on wildfire. It's all, it's stuff relevant to wildfire, but there's no like hectares burned or, anything like that.
Yeah, that was one
OPR
really,
can fix this.
yeah, one really amazing thing about the 4th assessment is Leroy Westerling's wildfire projections that he made available that we've been using. It actually does give you hectares burned or percent change or a few different metrics and under a couple different scenarios. And I thought that was really a powerful thing to make available for people, because then they can actually look and see it.
Yeah. So incomplete, but a nice start. And hopefully they're going to go out and get some feedback. Maybe we can bring them in, tell them what we know. I just want to make sure you guys were aware of it. I guess I just find it encouraging to at least see that they're attempting to specifically serve tribes here. And no impacts, right? So we're still just hanging out at the exposure level, where I think a lot of the meat, right? We always talk about there's this giant leap of imagination that has to happen for most communities to take this and then figure out what it means for them on the ground, where a better tool would actually go in and give them some reasonable estimates of impacts. But anyway, happy to see it. So those are what I know on the federal front. What do you all know? Anything else? All right. Well, So, I'm starting to keep a list here of like, who do we want to harass? Some of you come willingly to be harassed from various agencies, and we love that. But, now CMRA is on my list of folks that we'd like to, talk more to if we could. I think we have this wormhole in the universe with this group where we're just this informal group that, we have some knowledgeable people that like to come and provide feedback, and that's usually pretty useful to agency folks that want that feedback, but don't have the ability to orchestrate or lead an entire input process. Is there anybody else that you would like to see on this list? So federal or state services processes we should seek to participate in to advise on solutions that support tribal climate and health data access. Yeah.
Are you thinking about any state, or you want to focus on the West Coast? Or
I only do because I'm here, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, we have the Oregon Climate Change Research Institute that's Oregon funded.
Yeah. And you put something, they're in the process of doing the new assessment.
Yeah. But they, and if it's not, it might not get into the new assessment, but it could get on their radar for future years. And the acronym ends in an I.
Oh yeah, thank you. Patricia, I'm adding your OPR tribal roundtables here. It's just a place we might want to say hello. So yeah, I guess we're just looking out for opportunities to have some level of engagement, help inform these opportunities to better serve tribes with data. So we'll just continue to keep a running list. All right, next steps. All we really want to talk about what's left today is just, who else do you think, is there any other agenda suggestions, things we can add to the agenda, or solution presenters? So I'm going to add here, we talked about maybe Patricia coming with Indigenous science or data sovereignty and experts to talk about traditional knowledge. Oops. And cultural resources. It's like using while protecting. Right. What else? And then maybe CMRA if we can find somebody. Who else would you guys like to see? What would be helpful for your work to hear from others? Actually, Ben, I don't think have I officially had you speak at one of these? You spoke at our summit.
I don't think I have here, but I totally could. We can figure out what to talk about of the many things, but
maybe that new snowpack report once it's done.
Yeah, no, I mean, we could totally present on that. I think Alan, who led the paper, he's actually presenting on it right now in Innsbruck, Austria, to the International Mountain Conference. But so it's pretty much good to go. But yeah, no, we could totally talk about some of the California climate change work we've been doing, and I mean, maybe kind of contextualize it through the lens of leveraging CalAdapt sourced data from the previous fourth assessment.
Okay.
If I'm looking at Patricia, like, would that be helpful to see?
Yeah. She is, yeah. And then Lori, would you want to share the final indicator report at some point?
If it can ever get flippin' approved.
Before I get volunteered to do something, I'm going to jump off the call.
Good job, Chaz.
But I would love to have a link to that tool that you showed a little bit ago.
Oh, did I not send that yet? Yes. I'll put it in the chat right now so you can take it with you.
Thank you.
And my favorite tool that I just can't stop is the Oregon, University of Oregon's PRISM tool.
Yeah.
I love it. It's the best tool out there. In my, and having somebody present from that there just on how it should and shouldn't be used, I'd be interested. I love their work.
Oh, okay, yes. So is that, you said University of Oregon?
Yeah, I think it is. I'll throw you the link.
Prism. Okay, yeah, that's cool. I thought about them to actually present. Sounds good. Okay. Yeah, the
Oregon
other thing-
State. It's Oregon State. Sorry.
Okay. You know what my favorite thing in life to do is right now is to find the people who have been given the big ugly job of taking all this new money and having to design programs around it within agencies and offering to help, right? So if you know of those, but if in the tribal data world, if you know of anybody who's receiving an influx of dollars and would like people who will volunteer to help inform that process, I guess let us know about that too. Okay, cool. Well, that's all I have for today. Anybody else have anything else before we close out? Maybe a few minutes of your life back. Okay. All right. Thanks you guys for coming. We will see you next month.
Everyone.
Bye.